Great, Larry. How you doing? Finally.
Good, good. Yeah, finally we got it going here. Let me see here. We'll wait for a couple people to get on, and I think there's a link here that we can share. But I'm going to share your link right now to the Takedown Confidence Summit, and let me see if I can come up with that other link real quick. It showed me a link. I don't know where it went now though. I don't know.
How are you doing?
Good, good. You know, had a good morning chat with the Carlos Machado Jiu-Jitsu Association today. So got everybody kind of fired up and ready for, you know, the rest of the week. So, and you just recently won a world championship, didn't you?
Yeah, a few weeks ago.
Awesome. That's great. I think, let's see, where was I when that happened? I can't remember where it was at, but I remember being pretty excited about that you won that. I know that's a great thing. So that was what division was that?
Masters 3 lightweight.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. So how's it feel? Be world champ.
And yeah, I mean, it felt great. I don't know. I'm kind of old now, so it's, you know, more.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think? How much do you think takedowns had to do with that championship?
That's, you know, honestly, like a great segue into this conversation would be, I needed a takedown to win the match with about a minute and a half left, and I had to shoot a shot with like a double leg shot. You know, I couldn't, because you can't tie up really too much, because the guy was pulling guard pretty quickly. Yeah. So I had to like double change, and it was all confidence, and I got the takedown. You know, really won the world championship. Top takedowns. This is like perfect example. You know, it definitely saved me. I needed it, and I luckily had the confidence of wrestling my whole life to be able to pull it off, and to, you know, ride out the win with it. So that's actually great that this topic is being brought up, because, you know, I don't know if I would have. And I had one of my coaches was yelling like, "You got to go right now. You can't wait. You got to go." So I had no time to, you know, set it up or use movement. I just had to go to shoot in and, you know, just get the takedown. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know, I already know, you know, a bit about your game, because we've talked before, you know, and I've watched your videos before, and so I know that you've got a pretty good takedown game, and that's part of your just your game plan overall is implementing your takedowns and you know, kind of dominating opponents with that. And so I already kind of knew that was, you know, that was a loaded question. I already knew that takedowns were part of it. So
yeah.
Can you tell the audience where you're at right now and what you're doing right now?
I'm currently in Miami. I'm at the Sheridan Airport, cornering one of our fighters, Cody Law, who's going to Bellator fight Friday. So I'm in quarantine. I'm stuck in my room. That's why you asked if I had free time. I have all the free time in the world today. I'm stuck here by myself all day. So I don't get too many days like this, Larry. Trust me. So
right, yeah, I know.
Watching movies and watching film and down. That's about all I'm doing today. Kind of fun.
Yeah, doing some hotel life, right?
Yeah.
Been there, done that. So for our audience here, I just want to let them know what we're talking about with the summit. It was the Takedown Confidence Summit. Isaac was kind enough to be one of our speakers. We have 30 speakers on that event. It's going to be available to watch on November 18th, 19th, and 20th. Each day there'll be 10 speakers broadcast, and everybody there is talking about, we have people from different backgrounds. We have BJJ experts, Judo, Sambo, wrestling, MMA, you know, so there's quite a collaboration there between a lot of different styles. But this topic is developing takedown confidence, kind of particularly for BJJ students, right? And so that's one of the things that all of our coaches and instructors in the videos talked about, was how, you know, how we as coaches and trainers have developed our confidence, and then how we instill that in our students as well. And so Isaac was one of our speakers, and he has great insight. I really enjoyed the interview with you, sir. It was fantastic. And so we just wanted to give people a little bit of a taste of that right now and on this Facebook Live, and just kind of remind everybody that that event is coming up, and you can go register for it for free. The link to register is in the comments right here. So if you guys want to go check that out, be sure to do it. And just, a brief overview, a little summary of what we talked about before. Can you kind of give us a little bit of your insight on the importance of takedowns for jiu-jitsu and for self-defense?
I mean, first of all, I'm really excited to hear, you have great, amazing instructors and competitors and professors line up. I mean, I'm excited to take the summit. So, I think the one thing that's lacking whole community structured program for takedown, and especially with all the high level wrestlers that are out there at their disposal, I'd say almost every country at this point has a couple high level wrestlers in the curriculum. Could really help with this. So it's not like you have to learn wrestling, so to speak. You can use what they have already. I think that's one thing that I'm hoping this summer kind of promote some of that inner gym wrestling. Use that part of the game, because it is part of jiu-jitsu. We start out our feet. It's different rule sets demand different things. Like ABC trials this weekend, a lot of wrestling. Wrestling wins in that, and that skill set a lot of time. And like I was forced to go against a lot of guard players in IBJJF setting. But it still came down to a takedown that got me the points to win the match. So I think there's a definite place for it. What's lacking right now is more the structure behind it and the fundamentals behind it. And that's something that a lot of college players, especially, most college programs have very strong fundamentally based programs that, simple things, fundamentals win, teaching those driving. That's kind of how college, that's what we teach at our high school. That's where I coach with college kids that we coach, even with some of our wrestlers that train with us. Mostly fun, all fundamental stuff. I think having a fundamental wrestling system that works with you, because some traditional wrestling doesn't work well with jiu-jitsu, especially when you take shots for auras and things like that. Get you in a lot of trouble. But there are certain techniques, like the front headlock and different takedowns, that work excellent for jiu-jitsu. And obviously judo is a huge component as well. Greco-Roman wrestling, body technique. So there are some specific techniques that work really well, and use this summit to help promote that, to get more programs in place at I think it's going to help jiu-jitsu and whole.
Another thing, maybe you could tell the audience why, why you thought this was something for you to be involved with this summit. I know that you and I talked about that. We thought it was pretty important to reach out to some people. And so what do you, your take, for our audience, what prompted you to, consider taking part in this summit?
Well, first of all, you came highly recommended by some very, people that hold in high esteem, throughout my career, being around people like, Jason Sampson and Mike Moore and different guys like that are just, they said, hey, this is going to be a movement. You want to be part of a movement? I'm like, yeah, because obviously I love wrestling. I love the mindset that wrestling brings to life in general. And I really incorporate that into what we do at the Mat Factory, the gym where I coach. We try to instill that wrestling mindset into a jiu-jitsu scenario. So I love that movement. I'd like to see more of that, obviously. And I think a little bit of it already, a little bit more is only going to help, especially, with the way jiu-jitsu is kind of changing. I've been talking to a lot of guys in the jiu-jitsu industry, and the question they ask me all the time are like, all these high-level wrestlers, how are they doing with their jiu-jitsu? What's going on with Jason Nolf and Bo Nickel? Guys like that are starting to dive into, jiu-jitsu now. And I see a lot of other, Morelli, they had a great tournament. And there's, we have wrestlers in our gym that are just, they could do really well if they decide to become competitors in jiu-jitsu. I think that movement can kind of change the way jiu-jitsu projects in the next 5-6 years. So to be a part of that would be special, because I've been involved in wrestling since I was little. Obviously, I've been doing jiu-jitsu now for 20 years. So I kind of have a good understanding of both. And I really like when you infuse both of them together, and obviously you having a judo background, I'm sure you can kind of relate to that, because you can infuse a lot of judo in your grappling game. So, I mean, that's kind of where I see this going. That's kind of why I was excited to get behind it. Not only with your reputation, but also, just because I'm very passionate about, incorporating that into that game.
Yeah, me too. And that was one of the reasons what just inspired me to kind of do this project, was the fact that, that's the way I teach. And then being part of the Carlos Machado affiliation, when we go to those affiliate trainings, right, it's a big event. It's like 3 or 4 days long. And, Carlos teaches seminars through the whole program, but there's a few of us coaches that kind of get recruited to show some of our stuff as well. Jason Sampson's one of them, so he gets to show how to implement his wrestling skills into that. Mike Moore is there. Mike talks about mindset, those types of things. So, and then I get to show what we call judo for jiu-jitsu. So that's me blending judo into jiu-jitsu. And I get a ton of questions, at the end of this, from black belts, right? From everybody from white belts to black belts, asking me, how do we do this, and what do we do when we do that? And so that kind of inspired me, like, what, people are interested in this. They want to learn takedowns. It's not that they don't want to do takedowns. It's like sometimes that information is not so readily available to them. And so what can we do? How can we get all these coaches and trainers together in one spot like that, And so, as this program that we're doing right now, 30 different instructors, is pretty cool to have all that in one spot, and have it available for free. That's pretty amazing too. So I do want to add in, there is a all access pass that people can purchase that gives you lifetime access to those interviews. It gives you MP3 audios of those interviews, gives you transcriptions of those interviews, gives you some other bonuses. But the one that's really cool is that all of the instructors filmed a takedown technique that's available for the all access pass holders, right? So that's a pretty cool deal. I think it's $47 right now, which is a steal when you consider like 30 techniques from 30 different, high-level instructors. That's a pretty big deal. I think if you went on BJJ Fanatics, which, by the way, there's a lot of these guys that have videos on BJJ Fanatics. But if you go on a site like that, you're probably going to pay a minimum of like 77 to 2 or 3 times that much for something like that. So I think it's a pretty sweet deal. So if you guys, when you go to register, kind of check that out and see and think about that. That's a good option for everybody. Which brings me kind of to my next question for you, real quick, was, for our viewers, why would you recommend to them that they should be, watch this summit and get involved with the summit?
I mean, especially with the way it is with YouTube and BJJ Fanatics and instructionals. I mean, I know the time that I've spent in seminars and instructionals and, spending money on things like that. It's investing back into yourself. It's investing back in the game. I think that's a very important part of it. Especially, we didn't have this availability back when we started the sport. Most of it was like, I had this VA bill. We gotta. You won't believe it. It's Armin guillotine. It's like, oh my gosh! I remember learning the name, the nomenclature, the techniques, and it was just like, it was wild. But it's so easy to do now. It's such an awesome thing. I know personally the techniques that I showed. I spent the technique that I went into just in the video that I submitted was kind of like brought to me through college, and we actually this technique at the high school level, had a lot of success with this. It's really like, if I could teach one wrestling thing, that's what I would teach like a high school kid or even a college kid to get really good at. Yeah. So that's kind of what that's 20, 30 years of wrestling, and like, hey, go with your best stuff, probably be it. Because it's more of a philosophy with technique behind it, and mindset. It's kind of all in there together. So can't wait to see some of the other instructors. You know, I think that a lot of the top instructors curriculums in now. I know Machado does. I saw the syllabus for your last affiliate rendezvous, and it was awesome. Oh, you have wrestling, half guard here, and you have Judo. Awesome to see all the pieces together, and I think that's what the best instructors, the best programs should be doing, and they are. I see that with a lot of different Drysdale, Lovato, you know, that. Just for instance, I spin place curriculum they have. It's just really awesome to see the community as a whole develop like that. So, you know, got to contribute. I'm excited. I really want to. I had to pick someone's brain, like, hey, what technique would it be for some of these guys? I want to see their best stuff, and I think 40 cents deal for that.
Yeah, it's a bargain, you know. And even if people don't want to do that, you know, just go and watch the interviews for free, you know, on the 18th, 19th, and 20th is great too. There's so much knowledge there. I've been talking about this a couple times, you know, here recently that, you know, I got to do the interviews, so I got to listen to everybody, which was awesome. You know, it was just lots of golden nuggets of information. And then I got to listen to it again when I went through and did the editing, you know, to make them into the videos that are going to be on the broadcast. And so listening to it a second time, you know how it is. You pick up on things that maybe you missed the first time, or you're reminded of the thing that caught your interest the first time. And so, man, there's just so much information in there from so many different perspectives. And it's really cool to have. There's a lot of parallels, right? Because there's some things that are just like principles that are going to apply across the board, right? So the way that you do it in wrestling is going to be, you know, same methodology as it would be for judo or, you know, sambo or anything else, right? It's like balance is balance, right? So, you know, things like that. But then there's a lot of these different strategies that pop in, you know, from the different perspectives and different experiences, you know. And so it's just really cool to listen to that stuff. So even if somebody doesn't do the all access pass, there's still just a ton of information in these interviews. So it's definitely worth it to just go check that out too. So you got all day there, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, you know, I don't want to waste your time, but then again, it's like, well, you got a lot of time.
I got nothing going on. It worked out perfect. No, well, I'm really excited. My car rides to work just to get, you know, this is one thing I've learned being a coach and an instructor mainly is, you know, take as much information as you can, really, and get it, and especially for people that have been there in the fire, proven themselves, and you know, have that experience. You can learn, you know, so much from people. And just listening to, I just love listening to people talk, especially about stuff that I'm passionate about. So I'm super excited to go. I'm hoping I make it all through all 29 other interviews.
Yeah.
Like going to be my goal, and I'm going to actually, you know, highly recommend that to all of our students, because I can guarantee there's going to be a ton of great information in there. And like I said, most importantly, I'm super excited about the techniques.
Yeah, me too.
Excited to stuff because, like I said, I remember just sitting back and when we first started, you know, be able to have more access to instruction stuff, not having to pay, you know, $300 to go to a seminar, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
You know, I tell my students all the time how lucky they are, because we still have, you know, seminars at our academy, you know, around the area. But we had a seminar an hour or 2 hours away from, you know, our town, you know, 10 years ago even. It was a big deal. Like, oh my gosh, like I still remember learning so much at those seminars, but it's so nice to just go on now and be able to, you know, pick up an instructional and watch it and pick up some technique, understand technique a little bit better. So it's really advanced the sport quickly, and it's excited to be a part of the wrestling push for that too.
Yeah.
Takedown.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm cheating a little bit because I already got to see all the technique videos, right? And they're really cool. And what I want to tell the audience is that there's some techniques in there from, you know, all these different styles. And so, but there's a broad range too, right? So there's actually a couple of technique videos for takedowns for, you know, people that don't do takedowns, or what to do if you can't get the takedown, right? So that it's not, you know, it's not a big double leg flare blast on everybody. You know, that's not what everybody's showing. Everybody's showing kind of like some fundamental skills that are really super important at all levels, you know. And I've been talking about this a little bit too, is where this is good for everybody from white belt through trainers, right? If you're a coach, even, it's good for you to watch and listen to this, because you might pick up on some different vocabulary, some different ways of explaining something that maybe you've been explaining it one way, and you know, you have that one particular student that just doesn't get it. Maybe you're going to be able to connect the dots for them a little bit better with it, you know, some new info, some new ways of explaining things. So I'm always looking for that too as a trainer, you know, not just techniques, but how other coaches explain those techniques, because then it gives me a greater vocabulary, you know, to share with my students as well. So I think it's good for like all levels. I think this is a great event. So and I'm sure you would agree with me too. That's kind of what you were just talking about, you know. So that's one of those things too. You know, I'm in Oregon, so with seminars are kind of far and in between for us. We don't get a lot of seminars, you know. Like one of the big ones is when Carlos comes to visit us, and we kind of keep that, you know, we don't necessarily share that with everybody else. That's kind of, we hoard him, right? We're like, oh, you're here with us. So, but you know, occasionally we'll get one up in Portland. That's a 3-hour drive for me, right? So it's not like there's a lot of stuff around. So this is a, you know, great opportunity. 30 different people in one spot. So it's really fantastic event. So I'm so glad that we were able to pull it off, because it was a little bit of work to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you did an amazing job just on the outskirts looking in. You did a great job of organization, and I think it's going to be a great event. I think it's going to work out awesome. Super.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir, for joining me today. We'll share this the replay of this on multiple platforms for everybody to watch. I know that we had a hard time logging in on your Facebook account. We'll figure that out in the future, right? But so we've got it on my profile right now, but I will send you the link, and we can share it on, you know, on all of our various platforms for everybody to kind of catch on this. So, all right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, and I'll talk to you again very soon. And good luck to you and your fighter at Bellator.
Yeah, Cody Law this Friday night, Bellator MMA.
Awesome. You and Cody have been kind of teammates for a while, haven't you?
Cody wrestled at Takedown, where I wrestled at, and I was a national champion. And I trained him for 2 years through his amateur career, and then he made the move down here to South Florida to ATT, American Top Team. Okay. My instructor is one of the coaches at one of the schools down here, Baga, and he's doing awesome. He's 4-0 right now, and he's still home with us, training with us when he's home. So it's been a great thing so far. So hopefully,
that's awesome.
For win.
Awesome. Best of luck and skill to you guys. Fantastic job. Thank you, sir.
Yep, we'll try to get some takedowns for you on Friday.
That's right. There we go. Awesome. All right. Have a great day.
All right, you too, Larry. Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Be good.